Pixar is back, yes, and I am so fucking glad. Pardon my language, but god damn does Pixar know how to make a good movie. I went in last year highly anticipating WALL-E, not to mention, because I personally found WALL-E kind of cute, the little sound he does. I have 2 cats of my own that remind me of that. But regardless, it looked like a really great movie, and no Pixar movie has ever really disappointed me with the exception of Cars. So I was really looking forward to Up. The commercials didn't really look all that promising. They were kind of vague. I didn't really know what was going to happen in it. But, you know what? It got great reviews, as any Pixar movie does, and I thought to myself, screw it. I'm sure it's going to be good. And you know what? It was. It really was. And I think Up really actually is the best movie I've seen all year. I mean, I loved Watchmen. I loved Pontypool. And I really enjoyed Crank High Voltage. And Star Trek, so on and so on, but this really is the best movie I've seen all year. It's one of the best kids movies I've ever seen, I would go as far as to say, because it deals with a lot of adult themes, and actually in the first couple minutes, I was really, really sad. I almost got a little teary-eyed there, and now, me being a heartless bastard, that takes a lot of effort to actually do. So kudos to the movie for that. Otherwise, this movie, outside of that, was really well paced. I thought it was kind of sad. It was extremely sad in the beginning, continually picked up to a high point. It still had that moment of nostalgic sadness in it throughout bits of the movie, and it really tied up nicely at the end. I thought all the plot threads went exactly where I wanted them to go, if nothing else. A lot of people, or critics, are getting down on the third act of this movie, saying it transitions into a more, it sets up a villain and it's more action. But you know what? I think it actually worked. I think that's where it was heading from even the midpoint. So I don't blame them. It's not like it just comes out of nowhere. It still develops to that point. Also, as well, the villain that they do introduce, I really love the villain. And god damn, he was menacing for a kid's movie, I gotta say. The fight, obviously, very funny. This is Pixar, so you know what? As much as I'm saying, oh, it's menacing and it's adult, this is a really, really funny movie. I laughed aloud so many times I cannot even count. The animation itself may not be as incredible as you'd think it would be from a Pixar movie. Like every Pixar movie, it seems to get better and better. This one is about the same level, but that is by no means bad. That just means that it's on the same level of technical excellence that all other Pixar movies are at, and should by no means be considered bad whatsoever. It's easily the best CG animation I've seen. Pixar is definitely the king of that. So yeah, screw you, Fox. Anyway, the characters within Up, Carl, the old man, and Russell, the kid, as well as 2 others I'll get into a little later, are extremely endearing. Russell I wasn't liking at first, but he really does grow on you, because he does remind you of that kind of cute kid who's just so slowly starting to grow up. And he does have his own problems, too, which is unexpected. I thought it was going to be largely about Carl after the first couple minutes, and Russell just going to be kind of the annoying sidekick. But, much like WALL-E, where Eve is following WALL-E around, or vice versa, whatnot, Eve really acts as a great supporting character, and Russell does too. He brings up the mood when it needs it, and Carl himself has a particularly snide sense of humor that could only come from someone that is aged and more knowledgeable of the world, and they bounce off really well together. Two other characters join their party, as I'm sure you've probably seen the commercial at this point. The talking dog, Doug, who is awesome. The voice that they chose for Doug has a perfect mix of gullibility and lovable and cuddliness in it, and it just makes him sound all the more silly when he says, "I have just met you and I love you." I mean, they have these collars that allow the dogs to talk, and it's exactly what you'd think a dog would say. Like, it's not some incredibly smart plan. You're like, yeah, that's what an animal would think, kind of thing. And I really love that. And speaking of visual gags, from WALL-E, Pixar has really learned a lot from WALL-E, I think. I know this is in production the same time as WALL-E, but I think they've definitely got the same kind of thing going on here, because though there was much more dialogue than there was in WALL-E, particularly Kevin, the bird that's throughout the movie, it's kind of the plot catalyst, I won't spoil anything, but never says anything but his own little kind of bird noise. I'm not even sure how the hell to make that noise, so I'm not even going to attempt it, but his name, Kevin, and his body language is just hilarious at all times, and it portrays the exact emotion that they want to, and I can't underestimate how good Pixar is at the animation, not only in bringing it to life and making it look vibrant and real, but also just really really bringing the world to life through the little details like that. Subtle facial expressions, even just a lot of physical humor is really amusing, and not the crass kind of physical humor. Now, I realize I have not yet covered the story, and that's because I don't want to spoil anything. And I'm not even going to attempt to explain even the first 3 minutes to you, like I was referencing before. That is, because I just want you to go see this movie. If you've seen a Pixar movie of any kind, just go watch this one. It's easily one of their best ones yet, and it really makes you wonder, when is Pixar going to screw it up? Every movie sequentially seems to be better than the last. I'm waiting and dreading until they make that one movie where, no, it's not good. They have never had an outright failure. Like I said before, I didn't like Cars, but it was still a pretty good movie and much better than a lot of the dreck out there. I'd much rather watch Cars than I would Madagascar again. I think it'll happen when they start making an orange. He's the main character, and he needs to be like an accountant or something. I think you could not do a worse movie than that. And they better not steal my idea, damn it. Anyway, go see Up. I don't want to say too much more. The music, as with the visuals, is absolutely great. Perfectly suitable. Perfectly suiting for every scene. There was a lot of off-kilter humor in this movie, too. Much more than any other Pixar movie. That only... Now, I'm going to say this, but I'm going to preface it with something else. That, while I'm going to say this, I'm going to need to explain myself. There's a lot of humor that only adults will understand, and will just go over the kids' head. They'll still find it cute, but adults will find it much more funny. And that's not to say they have some lame pop culture reference from the 80s or anything. No, I mean that they have humor that is just a little more complex than what kids would necessarily grasp. And I think that really makes the movie. It's a beautiful family movie for all ages. If you have a kid, you know what, take your kid out to see this. If you don't have a kid, you know what, don't be embarrassed. Go and see this by yourself. You may feel kind of silly at first because there is going to be a lot of kids in the theater, but this is just a fantastic movie. And you know what, I would advise going to see it in the theater because the Real D is actually really nice. As with most movies in the newest 3D system, Real D, it's a lot more about dimensions than it is tricks at throwing things at you in the screen, which I don't necessarily mind. And in movies like My Bloody Valentine, it's the only thing that keeps you entertained, but it really adds a whole new dimension and immerses you more in the world than you would be otherwise. And it's worth the extra couple dollars. It may seem like a gimmick, but it's worth it. Doesn't ruin the movie without it, so you're still going to enjoy it in 2D if it's not available in your area. But if you can at all possible, then you know what, go see it in 3D. I don't know what more else I can say. It's Pixar. Go see it. Up. Wonderful movie. Extremely sad, but also really, really hilariously funny. I haven't been satisfied from a movie when I've left the theater in a little while, and this is definitely one that left me feeling really, really good about spending the money on it. You know, like when you walk out of the theater and think like that was worth it. Up, great movie.